I welcome both parties here. I also have to say that listening to the debates that have been going on in the exchange of views, that I too have serious difficulties about the use of the word bombshell in terms of the resignation of Billy Walsh. Also, I have surprise at Mr. Kerwin talking about putting in legally binding sections that won't be invoked. I find that a rather strange interpretation of employment law, that you put them in, but sure, they won't be invoked anyway. That didn't seem to be something that Mr. Walsh agreed with. And I just want to ask, do you resent the high performance unit within your organisation? Do you resent its success? Is there some culture within the IABA that has drawn the wagons around and has said, well, sure, as somebody said, we can get lots of more coaches. What does Billy Walsh mean anyway? And yes, all of the evidence suggests that Billy Walsh, and I think Mr. Mulvey said last week, not just a successful coach, but the best coach in the world of boxing, the best coach in the world. And you're saying that you wanted him to stay, and yet the evidence would suggest otherwise. And I'm going to have to quote in order to put my question together, and I hope the Chairman will allow me, in terms of what the headline in the paper, I could not work for someone who clearly didn't want me. And he says that you've implied that he left because of money, which has come up repeatedly here. And you've gone into a lot of detail about money. Most people in the public arena who would have a support for boxing and a success wouldn't understand this sort of dancing on the head of a needle about whether there was going to be a problem for your other employees. They would see him in the same way as they see Joe Schmidt and Martin O'Neill as the man that was leading the success of this particular sport. So the question is, do you resent the success of the high performance unit? I mean, is there something within your organisation that resents success? And Keith Duggan in the Irish Times said last week that the future of Irish boxing is what is at stake here, but this sorry mess, this usual disgrace, is an unhappy reminder that Ireland is the undisputed world champion when it comes to mugging itself. How could you let this man go? That for 8 months it went on. And you made a reference in your statement, which I'd like you to clarify, that you said that having received the offer from the US, that there were attempts to come to a new arrangement, and then you say, a quote, an initial urgency to the process at Billy's insistence, but that the urgency subsequently subsided due to overseas commitments. Why did the urgency subside? If you were that keen and that anxious to keep him, why is it that you dragged this on for 8 months, and in the latter end that you dragged it on again? Because without going into the specific details, he talks about timelines here, where contracts were sent back, where there was up to 60 amendments that were made in relation to it, that were required to make this a fair and acceptable contract document for him. Right throughout his statement, he makes it clear that the money was not an issue. And I'm left with and I'm aware other people have to get in, Chairman, and there's lots more I'd like to say. But I think that you've acted disgracefully. I think you have acted not in the best national interest. I think this is the closest thing in sporting terms to national sabotage. We have such limited expertise in a whole wide variety of sports that you let this man go, in the manner in which you let him go. I don't think it reflects on either your chief executive or on you as the chairman of the IABA. And in fact, people have called outside that you might even consider your position.
Okay, could I now call on Deputy Fleming?